Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the final 5th day of Build with Mapbox 2025. I'm Marina. I'll be helping to host this session. This session is Building the Future of Smart Cities, Abu Dhabi's digital twin powered by Mapbox. And our guest speaker is from Pixonal. Mohamed Said is here to tell us all about what they've been building with Mapbox. So before we get started, just a couple logistical reminders from me. This session is being recorded. You'll be able to watch it after the session in the Zoom event lobby. Give it about an hour or so to process, but then it'll be available on demand, along with all of the other build sessions. We will have time for some live questions from the audience, so participate in that. To do that, please submit questions through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Also, if you would like to turn on captions or automatic translations, you can do that using the captions button at the bottom of your screen. And finally, you can discover all the other build sessions that are coming up today and that we've had throughout the week back in the Zoom event lobby. Hope you are enjoying all of that great content. So that's all the logistical reminders from me. With that, I'm going to switch slides here and welcome our speaker, Mohamed.
Thank you very much, Maria, for that. And first of all, I'd like to thank Makiko and Mark for joining from California. I think that's extremely early for you guys. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Mohamed Said. I'm from Pixonal. And first of all, I want to thank Mapbox for setting up this session. We really love to talk about, our solutions, our products using Mapbox. We're all coming from design backgrounds, and Mapbox is extremely helpful for us building our products. So let me start with the famous statement of, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Perfect. So let me go into the agenda for today. Wouldn't take much of your time. Around 20 minutes, we'll talk a little bit about Pixonal and what we do, and then we'll jump into more context about our client, Abu Dhabi Mobility, for Abu Dhabi government. And then we'll talk a little bit about the solution, which is called Fusion. Then we'll have a quick demo from the solution, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. Feel free to put your questions from now if you want, and as soon as we reach the Q&A part, I'll be happy to answer. So starting with Pixonal, what we do, we are a technology intelligence company. We build decision support systems. We connect all of the different data points and data sources for all our government clients or enterprise to give them unified access to all their data to be easily used by top leadership and decision makers. So it's not really an analytics tool for analytics teams or BI teams. It's something that enables every single person within an organization, especially leadership, to go and start interacting with the solutions. And we have our core flagship product that's called Lumen. It's basically an intelligence interface. So as I mentioned, we integrate all the different data sources, but then we add a layer of governance. This governance layer is not really about just connecting the data and how the aggregation is being done. It's basically a governance of interaction. How would you interact with these insights? How would you interact with the data? So we add more context to it, like visualizations, what type of filters that can be used, what type of predictive models that can be applied on that, what type of data dives that you have. And then we have this metric, which with all of these different interaction components, and then give you the tools through our interface to build your own narratives, reports, dashboards, even mobile reports, very easy no-code builders, or you can, of course, depend on AI to build all of that for you. So the same governance layer supports the human and the machines. Little bit about our client. So we work with, we're based in Dubai, and we have our clients across the region between UAE and Saudi Arabia, Egypt, all the Middle Eastern area. And Abu Dhabi Mobility is one of our major clients that we work with since 2019, I believe. And since then, I've been using Mapbox across multiple products, actually. Abu Dhabi Mobility is part of Abu Dhabi government. and it's focusing on everything related to transportation. So it's more of the regulations part, in addition to all the operations and projects within the Emirate. And they track every single data point related to traffic, transportation, infrastructure of the city, in collaboration with the municipalities and other government entities. So you imagine the scale of the data that they have, talking about billions of data points. To be exact, around 70 billion data points. And this data is being generated every single day through different sensors on the roads and public transportation tracking, and lots of other information coming from Uber and all the ride-hailing kind of companies. So all of these information makes it extremely difficult to actually consume it. And it's not just about planning and how I can create different scenarios and simulations for the future of Abu Dhabi. It's basically looking at every single data point for every domain, from operations, logistics, safety, you name it. So the main goal of the project that we worked on with Abu Dhabi Mobility is how we can combine all of that into something that doesn't need the technical skills of analytics or transportation to really dive into this data, to understand what's happening, what would happen in the future, what type of insights or patterns related to the transportation around all of the Emirate. And they already have lots of tools. They already have lots of solutions, but it's very advanced and complex transportation modeling softwares that needs a very advanced, transportation and modeling people. And the idea here is basically enable everyone across the organization to use the data to get to know more about what's happening on the roads, to try to put their own ideas and their own planning into that roadmap and vision that they have at Abu Dhabi. So what we've created is Fusion. It's a single window of truth across everything related to mobility. And when we started working on Fusion, it's not really about how we collect all of the data into one place. It's basically what we're going to do with it. Who's the audience? What type of decisions that they are making? And we started working from that perspective, also building what type of functionalities, how the map would be designed, what type of color modes we're using, what type of visualizations, even custom built visualization that we need. Do we really need to have a very detailed digital twin, or we can have more of an optimized level of a digital twin just to understand more about the city? So all of these questions really shaped the product design when we were building that solution. And thankfully, we just got awarded from Red Dot Design Award. It's one of the top design awards globally. We just received 3 of them into different domains between transportation, government apps, into categories like interface and digital solutions. Before I go into the demo, I'll just tell you more about the architecture of that solution, not just from a technology perspective, but also from the insights that are being driven into that platform. First of all, when we start talking to different users, top leadership, or different operation stakeholders within the whole government of Abu Dhabi, it was clear that we need context. And this context is not just around the transportation data. We need other data to make sense of what's happening on the transportation data. Just to give you an idea, we need demographics. We need to understand who's living there. What are their patterns? What are the distribution? What kind of land that we have? So we need to understand more about land use. We even went as far as getting data from aviation. So we need to understand what type of flights coming into Abu Dhabi. What are the seasonalities of that? What are the patterns, the size, where these people are going from the airport into different zones into Abu Dhabi Emirate. So it transformed into a very rich platform of all the different information. So it supports whoever is interacting with the data. If you're looking at average speed on a specific road, you need to understand what's really happening around that. Is it residential areas, schools around that, or is there accidents happening? So we actually feed in some accidents data on the roads. To be able to give you all of this information, we did more of an architecture with multiple dives into data, starting with Fusion as a high-level strategic KPIs. And then you started diving into subtopics. So we don't really care about where the data is coming from. It's mostly about the context and the story that we're trying to say. So we built this architecture as a foundation that you can start adding on top of it data as we move along. So we added main topics like everything around people, around traffic, land use, mobility, which includes all the different type of trips. And then we even started adding different insights into more of a hierarchy of strategic KPIs around number of trips. And then you have the map that shows all the different trips coming in or coming out from the selected district, time series animation. I mean, all of that we're going to see in the demo. But it's just all about, we have all the information. I cannot just throw it in front of you into one screen or just one dashboard. It's something that you want to really dive into it when you need the information, if you need to get more aggregations, everything in front of you, and you don't need any analytical background on that. From the complexity of accessing all of this information, we had lots of refinements across every single metric, because not all the data reacts the same for all the filters. So for example, some operations team would see some data, they are allowed to see some data, but the planning team cannot see it. Maybe I have data related to historical information, but also I have predictive models that runs future simulations. You would have data up to the year 2050, actually. I can filter this data with the whole emirate, maybe a small zone, maybe a little bit bigger district, maybe a corridor. So all of these different options is being run on every single metric. We're talking about 1,000 metrics across the whole tool, and be able to interact very seamlessly with all the options in terms of interaction. Going a little bit into the technical architecture, it's quite complex as well, because we're using multiple different interaction points. So we have the main data warehouse that we have, which using Parquet database. And then we have all the different queries and APIs that speaking to this database, talking to all the different insights that we've created. We have caching, of course. So all the user would start going and interacting with the tool, interacting with the different filters, and then we're using a beautiful designed Mapbox base map that is being added on top of it, some 3D visualizations, utilizing GPU also to render all of these visualizations. So we're talking about a whole scale of UE. It's not really big, but at some points, rendering all of this data in 3D would be very consuming in terms of expenses on the machines, and then start showcasing all of that into the front end layers. I think I can jump into the demo for who joined early in the session. They saw me, so this is not me. So I have a different look. So let me go into the demo. Okay, so you always test all the demos before you jump into presentations, but it always happens that demos doesn't work during presentation. Let's hope for the best that it works for this one. So this is the interface that we have. It's flying over one district in Abu Dhabi. It's called Abu Dhabi Emirate. This is Abu Dhabi Island. This is the main island. And as I told you, we have all the different topics in between people, land use, mobility, traffic, where every single page, it has multiple pages in it. So as you can see, I have an overview. So I understand a little bit about the population, where are the top dense areas. So this is more very strategic to top leadership to just understand where we at. And then you can dive into other information like population or people movement. And we also had filtrations of time. So as I told you in the beginning, we have lots of different layers of interaction. In time, you can go into historical information, or you can go into the future, because there are some predictive models available that generated more of a published future. So this is what we know, what type of projects, when they're gonna launch, what type of impact that they're gonna have up to the year 2050. So this is something that you can automatically link directly into the same metric to understand what's happening in the future. So I have a nice calendar to understand more about what time zones that you wanna look at. And we have patterns. And patterns was extremely interesting to understand more how a usual Monday looks like. What type of, the New Year's Eve, how it looks like. So all of this aggregations also is being done. So it's much easier for you to understand what's happening. And before I jump into the different visualizations, the last filter I want to look at is the location filter. So as I told you, I have different layers on different hierarchy of filters in terms of locations. So I can look at the whole emirate. I can look at a little bit bigger regions, smaller districts or smaller zones. And all of that is automatically aggregated based on your selection to understand more. And hopefully you can see all of that into the demo. So jumping into population, now we're getting a little bit more information about the population density on the island. So as you can see, this is a little bit crowded area. We have also a high level information about the population. I can change the time or change the location, or I can see how this is changing over time based on my time selection. I think my time selection here is like more than a month. So as you can see aggregations for every, like for January or February. And if you selected a different time zone, you'd see aggregates by 15 minutes or by 1 day or by 1 week or even by 1 year. Looking also at people movement. So who's coming into Abu Dhabi Island, who's flying out of Abu Dhabi Island. And you have all of this interesting 3D map. So you can zoom in and out and you can see even, the smaller areas. And this is something that's interactive. So you can select any of these points and to understand these people are coming from, Abu Dhabi Island going into Al Bateen area or from Al Bateen area coming into Abu Dhabi Island. So you get all this information without really interacting with any queries or anything. So as I mentioned, we added lots of other information like land use. So land use, it gives you a very good information about the distribution of land across the location that you're looking at. So here, looking at 2D visualizations. And we're really using this nice animation between the best way to look at this data. And this is very dynamic across any location that you select. So if you're going into any other location and you want to see in 3D, the camera will already look into a 3D perspective. If you want to really jump into 2D plane automatically, this is the best way. So you're looking at how the area is being divided in terms of land use, where are the educational areas, medical, and so forth. We also added consumption, so like water and electricity. Want to really understand also how people are living in these areas and what type of consumption happening on these different locations. In terms of mobility, it's really talking about everything related to movement and trips. So general trips, we're looking at buses, also utilization of buses. We added taxi data across all the different taxi companies. Schools, so we want to understand more about school movements because, again, it's a small island and multiple schools can really make a huge impact on congestion. As I told you, we added aviation, so going into a globe map to understand more about what are the flights coming in. And my time, again, more context in what's happening. And then the last thing about traffic, this is more of the tactical information. You're really diving into every single, main road and understand more about what's happening on these roads over time. Also add accidents data, and you can see like there's a lot of accidents happening between the time selected and all of the other information that would support decision makers, different stakeholders within the Abu Dhabi Mobility, or actually any other department within the Abu Dhabi government. So if you're talking about the police, they can really track the impact of the accidents happening on the roads and can filter all of that. You can manage the access. So it's really a beautiful tool that it's just a foundation layer. You start adding as much data as you want to interact with it very seamlessly. So this is a quick view on what we have on Fusion. And now we have a few minutes to ask any questions, and feel free to drop in the chat, and we'll love to answer.
Fantastic. That's a very beautiful looking display and visualization there, Mohamed. Thank you for sharing that. The demo worked smoothly, lovely. I do see some questions coming in the Q&A here, so let's see what we've got. First question is, what sort of feedback on the platform have you had from end users? Are there any stories or scenarios you can share about how Fusion is helping to inform decisions in action already?
Not everything I can talk about. I can just give you a hypothetical driven from a real case, but because of confidentiality. But basically, it's the idea of looking at traffic and the causality of congestion. Because now you have accidents and you have school buses and you have demographics, you'll be able to look at the different causes of that congestion. So currently, the different departments across the government, they are utilizing these tools to be able to look at the actual cause and to showcase it to leadership through a ready interface, and visualizations and interaction live. And they would start asking, but what really happened, in the last week? And I can show you what happened last week. So all of that is really it's reducing the reporting time by more than 90% because everything is right accessible in front of you.
Mhm. Fantastic. We've got a designer in the crowd, I think, asking, curious about the visual design. The dark blue or purple is very striking. Can you share more about what informed that decision?
So first of all, we wanted more of a dark mode. So dark mode is very interesting in terms of visualizations, especially for maps, because it showcases the visualizations that you can put on the roads. So if you're looking at, the blue, red, green on the different corridors or the links on the map, it would be more obvious on a dark mode map. If you're looking at a light or a white map or more of a light mode, the contrast is not really interesting. Why blue? I don't know. It looks nice. I mean, we had this, different options, and we select. Yeah, it looks very interesting. It's everyone likes blue, So this was the unofficial reason for selecting blue. The official reason for selecting blue, it's the guidelines of the client, and we had to match it.
I see. Yeah, it's refreshing from the kind of black monochrome dark mode. It feels warmer, more inviting.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's another question. Any plan to include weather data either from Mapbox or from other sources?
Yes, we're currently working on a project, not within the same department, but with a separate department, the same idea. We're looking at environment data, so everything around weather, and also context. We're gonna also add schools, add hospitals, add industrial areas. So it's the same idea, but looking into a different horizon in terms of the wind, humidity, emissions, all of these ideas. But yes, plan to include weather data.
We've got another question about data. 1,000 metrics is very impressive. Where did you source all of the input data sources? Was it from the city, your client, or national government sources? Were there any data that were challenging to source?
Well, we had a partner working with us on the data, a company called Aimson. It's one of the very big companies within transportation data, and they were supporting us in feeding all the information and aggregating all this data and cleaning it. To answer your question, this is all coming from the decisions that we were trying to understand from the user. Based on these decisions, we understand what are the insights, and then we look where is this data available, and then we get, of course, support from the client, support from the other government entities, other data that are monetized that we can actually purchase and integrate with it. But this was the vision where the data is coming from, where the need of the data is coming from.
Mm. And I think we've got time maybe for one more. So asking about AI, any integration of AI features or tools that would help users to identify interesting patterns or hotspots in the data available?
Yes. So currently there's already a pipeline by Aimson. They created all these pattern generations. So to understand the usual Sunday, it's automatically aggregated using machine learning to give you an idea how the usual Sunday looks like. And also to compare today's Sunday with the usual Sunday and tell you what's the difference. So all of this is already incorporated in the pipeline of the platform.
Fantastic. Well, I have to cut us off there just to allow time for everyone to get to the next session. But thank you so much for sharing, Mohamed. And I know you put your contact information in the chat as well if anybody would like to follow up and connect. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in live.
Thank you guys. Bye.